Hello everyone, my name is Cerebellum. This is Academy of the Ancients, and today we're going to be looking at a replay from a teammate of mine. It's going to be SoM.Icarus, Sons of Meepo, it's the team. He's going to be playing the mid Zeus. He asked me for some feedback on this game, which is a little odd since he's a lot better of a player than I am. And this is going to be quite high level gameplay compared to what I normally feature on the channel. So it's going to be quite a lot of pretty much all of the players here are better than anyone, probably mostly anyone I've featured before. So it's going to be some unusual stuff, but hopefully it will be pretty good. I've seen the replay already, just to make sure I actually had something to say and I didn't just go, yeah, I don't know really how you could improve on this, but yeah, I have some ideas of what you could do here. So I'm going to skip the usual introduction of the hero and the team compositions and just make a quick note about his starting items here, because this is something that lower level players don't do at all, and higher level players do all the time. In fact, they do it even more drastically than here. And what I mean here is being greedy with your starting items, especially as a mid. Getting just 3 iron branches, and normally actually in our team games he will just be getting 2 tangos shared from the supports instead of buying his own, which puts him up to nearly 500 gold surplus from the start, which means he only needs a few last hits until he can get his bottle. Which is really the kind of the point here, getting that fast bottle, especially for Zeus, where you can just use that extra mana to get more last hits, and that's how you get your snowball going. See the point? Good. Let's get started. So, I'm gonna keep the last hits up. We took a look at the mid puck last time, and yeah, I haven't actually uploaded that one yet. But what he did really wrong was he didn't go well enough for the last hits. And if we take a look at the last hits here, you see already a drastic difference in how these players, who are a lot better than the ones I featured last game, go about it. So yeah, they're gonna be very efficient with regard to picking up the last hits. Zeus picking up 3 of the first 4 here, and Invoker not being denied too far behind, considering that the Zeus is pushing the lane now. The Zeus pushed the lane because did he miss the rune? Oh, okay. The witch doctor came down to pick up the rune there. So yeah. The only reason you really want to pick up the there we see the early bottle, yeah. The only reason why you want to push the lane in mid, which is something that Zeus is really good at, is because you want to take the wards, take the runes early on. We see there's a haste rune spawned bottom. He already has his bottle. Don't know if the Invoker has his yet. But that's what he just did there. Yeah, the Invoker just went for the Null Talisman instead. He's just going for the right click damage. We can see he's got a pretty god-awful right click on his own if he doesn't go for the Exhort. Yeah. So Zeus actually has the right click damage on him, but the Zeus right click animation is so bad that he's really reliant on these abilities to do the damage. But yeah, I just want to highlight what he's doing here. He pushed the wave in conjunction with the clock going just above 2 minutes, and that allows him to just go down here and take the rune, while the Invoker is kind of forced to stay in lane because it's pushed all the way up to his tower, and he'll miss a lot of last hits, a lot of experience if he doesn't stay there. So I don't have a lot of feedback here for the first touch. Here's a little bit of he's going to try to use this haste to go behind the Invoker and try for gank, but the Invoker has got good reflexes. And there isn't really the damage output from the Zeus yet to make what he was trying to do really happen there. So he got a good spell in, but it's just not enough to go for the kill. He's gonna go up the high ground and just wait it out. Just go back to farming. Yeah. I know Icarus here, he hates playing against Invokers, so he is actually winning the lane a bit. Yeah, I mean it's very close to even. He's just leading by 4 last hits, but the Invoker is leading slightly on denies. He has also gotten a lot of runes. Those runes should, translate into a tangible benefit in terms of last hits or experience or kills or something like that. They haven't really so far. Now he's starting to really pull ahead in last hits, though. He's leading by about 5 or 6, which is a good, he's not crushing the lane, but he's doing well so far. Very little action going on so far in the game. They're just kind of pushing it in a bit. one thing I want to make note of, if you've been paying attention to the minimap, the supports here on the Dire side have been just kind of standing around here with the anti-mage right in the front. They're up against the Weaver here. The Weaver can't do super much to the anti-mage early on. Like, it can harass, but it can't really kill him. Like, Weavers, before the Weaver get items up, it's not got super much to be scared of. Like, it's got a good right click at this point, but not that scary. I think with just one support here, that would have been enough. They could have just been doing other neat stuff like scouting at the runes, just stacking and pulling, or, you know, trying to set up a gank mid would have been all good stuff. I'm certain with like a Witch Doctor or a Rubik in backup, he could have definitely taken on that Invoker. So just a short note there, that they're being a little bit too focused on phasing out or zoning out that Weaver. I think maybe not optimal.
God forbid.
Yeah, the Invoker kind of getting the short end of the stick here now. Yeah, he is kind of crushing the lane now. He's got a third or 50% more last hits than the Invoker. Just about, not quite, but just about. And now we see the Nyx goes in, ends up doing nothing, just ends up being in experience range, and Zeus, the guy we're rooting for here, ends up giving up first blood. It's probably just got a little bit maybe a little bit greedy. Should have backed a little bit sooner. Was a little bit too low on life and mana to do much. He does end up getting his mana boots already. That's very good for him. He hits the level 6. He managed to get a return kill on the Nyx as they try to go for the gank again. So that's like still in the opponent's favor. They did get the first blood, and the Nyx did get part of the experience there. So anything they can do to get the Nyx close to level 6. I don't think he is at level 6 yet. Oh, he's level 5. Is good news, but the Zeus, of course, the Nyx dying there is a bit bad. We can see here he's gonna go for a Blink Dagger first item, and that's the first thing I want to talk a bit about. He's gonna try to get a Blink Dagger just to get some more mobility to try and yeah, there's another thing I want to talk about here, but yeah, he's heading for Blink Dagger first item. This is not something you see every game on Zeus, certainly, but it isn't the worst. He's just gonna use it basically to chase and for a little bit of safety. Now, I think the safety aspect here is kind of what goes wrong with this, because there's 3 invis threats with the Invoker using Ghost Walk heavily to set up ganks on him. So once he's taking any kind of damage, this Blink Dagger is gonna be completely out of play, and I think just getting started on the Academies might have been a more solid choice. The other thing I want to mention here is at this point in the game, we already have an anti-mage that's willing to join fights, even though he only has a completed Perseverance, which means our top lane at the moment is just a Weaver farming alone, and they're gonna just, with only like limited success, gonna be fighting around here. And anytime your entire team is fighting and the other team has someone farming, then it isn't a complete win, then it's just a trade-off. And then, you know, it's really, really critical that this anti-mage gets up his battlefield and gets space to farm, because then he can snowball really heavily, else it's going to be delayed a lot. And that's sort of what I see. If I were to summarize this game, I would say that it came down to a lot about how much this anti-mage got delayed. So they got the Invoker, they got the Sand King, but the Invoker, the anti-mage dies here. They also get the Weaver. So on paper, it's very tempting to say this is a straight win. They traded 1 for 3, and in that sense, it's pretty good. They got some farm on the Ruben, they got some farm on the Zeus. That's okay, but the Medusa's farming, and the the Medusa's farming. That's basically it. The Weaver died. The Nyx got some experience because he just he's level 8 now. We just looked at him just before, he was level 5, and now he's up at level 8. So the Nyx is a lot better off, and the Medusa here has just been farming. So the end trade-off there is that you could just summarize this as saying the other team, the Radiant team's carry was farming, while the Dire team's carry was dying. And they don't really have seem to push down towers super fast. So I'm actually gonna call that a loss, especially since this Medusa went for a Midas. So she's gonna get farmed really fast. Wind Ranger gonna go for a bit of offense here. Doesn't really have a hope of killing off this Medusa alone.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah, Medusa mocking her attempt a bit. Gonna be a fair amount of trash talk this game, but you know, all in reasonably good spirits, I hope.
Dire's middle tower
They're
is
gonna be
under
setting up
attack.
another gank there with the Nux. Think. No, Nux gonna get away. Close, so close. Very good power shot there. We can see this. All of the abilities here, almost all of them are on point.
Dire's bottom tower
So
is under
definitely
attack.
something very different from what I usually review. Yeah, Icarus here, suspecting
Dire's
that the
bottom
Evoke and the
tower
Nux
is under
are
attack.
best buds because they are constantly moving around together. So yeah, and now they have the Anti-Mage farming alone again. He's still ahead in terms of farm, but he could be further ahead. Like he just, if he'd had more time to farm, I think he would only be doing better. So.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Go, they find the Medusa. Can they finish her off? Yeah, they can. That's a really big kill. And because they
Dire's
used
middle
Zeus
tower
ulti, they're
is
gonna
under
be
attack.
helping out all the fights. The other fight that's going on up here, of course, since that's Zeus is balanced like that. Oh yeah, so the ultimate is of course global, and I think, you know, here he gets his Blink Dagger, and that's
Radiant's middle
basically
tower
because he
is
wants to
under
be
attack.
offensive. He wants to, like, Zeus's mobility is really bad, and he wants to be able to run a bit easy. If they get a
Radiant's middle
tower
has
on
fallen.
the back of that kill, and that's all well and good. That gives him more map control, takes away some of the safe farming areas for the enemy team. Yeah, here I don't know really if this will chase this kill. This is gonna be one of the landmark fights of the game to me. Let's just see
Dire's
how
bottom
it pans
tower is
out.
under attack.
Zeus goes back here, runs into 2 bugs, and he's just gonna die pretty much. So that's the Weaver.
Dire's bottom tower is under
And now
attack.
it's just the Windranger and Rubik. They don't really have, and the Witch Doctor doesn't really have the oomph to do anything here. Anti-Mage has already fallen. And the only one that's gonna
Dire's
make it out of
middle
there is
tower
actually the
under
Rubik.
attack.
And that's
Radiant's
just
bottom
barely.
tower is under attack.
So that was obviously a really big deal. That's gonna put the goal advantage right back in Radiant, just barely. But oh, actually, it's gonna put it pretty heavily because there's gonna be a good little while here where the others aren't farming, and the
Dire's
XP
bottom
advantage is
tower is
definitely
under
on the
attack.
Radiant side now. And you don't really want to give them the XP advantage when you have someone like Invoker.
Dire's bottom tower
Really can use
has
a lot of XP,
fallen.
and Nux as well gets really good with levels. And certainly with a level advantage. So, Zeus got his Blink Dagger. He's buying some wards now because they want to get a few items up on their supports. I think at least that's probably why. Yeah, and they are a little bit starved, and Witch Doctor can get really good with an
Dire's
Aghanim
middle
Scepter. It might make a
tower
little
has
bit
been
sense. He
denied.
denies the mid tower. Always a good move. But they are like completely even on towers. The only thing I think that differs between them right now is that the Medusa, because of that Midas, she's actually ahead in net worth. She should be at least. Yeah, just ahead, despite being worse in terms of CS. They managed to get a Witch Doctor kill in mid. Again, it's just that
Radiant's
Invoker
top
with the Ghost
tower
Walk
is
and the
under
Nyx.
attack.
Just that dude just running around and making problems. And it's sort of a case of both teams going on the offensive as I see it here, and one team just being more efficient at it. Kind of like the Zeus, Windranger, and all of these. Yeah, the Anti-Mage even getting called out now by the triple Invis. Actually the Sand King and the Invoker and the Nyx. No, not the Nyx, the Weaver actually. Just catching out the Anti-Mage, and that's a big kill. Like, that's the guy they really need to not be able to kill, and that puts the now the Medusa is actually a solid like 500 ahead. Now Invis Invoker gonna come up here. See the Zeus, immediately he just gets cold snapped. That puts his Blink Dagger out of play, and he can't really, doesn't really have a way to keep alive against that. So it's yeah,
Radiant's top tower
it
is
wouldn't be
under
much
attack.
better with
Radiant's
like half an
structures are
Aghanims,
fortified.
but if you at least you would get a little bit more HP if you get like an overclock
Radiant's
and the
top
point
tower
booster.
is under attack.
So it would be a little harder for them to get the kill. And of course you would get the Aghanims sooner.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower is
Go.
under attack.
Nice and easy. Didn't use the ultimate for that, being very restrained in that
Dire's
regard.
middle tower is under
A few
attack.
missed ultimates there, and
Dire's top tower is under attack.
there we go. And nope. Okay, that Zeus on the ends up not doing super much. But with the help of the Rubik's lift there, yeah, they're gonna get the Nyx. So a lot of action going on, and yeah, at this point the Medusa just starts pulling a little bit away. She's 1k ahead now of the Anti-Mage, and that's honestly kind of where things start to get a little bit nasty. Is this Medusa is gonna get pretty farmed. The Invoker has also managed to accumulate like a solid 2k lead on the Zeus here. And I think that that big fight that really didn't go their way in bottom is the culprit here. That just opened up the game completely for the Radiant and kind of put the Dire on the back foot. And when you're trying to play as aggressively as you are here, and you're suddenly at that higher an XP disadvantage, it's at a heavy risk of just snowballing out of control. You need a few fights to go your way before you can really
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
hope to get back into it at all.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Illusion!
Zeus trying to hunt down the Medusa, but can't really do it. See, the Anti-Mage, he's finished his Battle Fury and now he's just farming up. And I think this is the right move. I would have loved to seen this a little bit earlier. Yeah. Honestly, before you get like your second big item, I think it's very seldom a good idea to be fighting super much as Anti-Mage. He's so dependent on those items for the damage. And he's so good at farming up. Once you just hit that Battle Fury, you can farm up a lot, super lot.
I must have stepped on.
Are they gonna get the Invoker here? Oh, yep, down. So the Blink Dagger paying off there, definitely able to chase a little bit, a lot better with the Blink Dagger as Zeus. So that was really good.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
So the Zeus has died a comparable lot, just to these Invis ganks, and it's honestly just a tough thing to deal with as Zeus. He doesn't really have any good way of dealing with these Invis style ganks.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Yeah. The Anti-Mage died again, and all the while this was like a 4v5 fight, because on top we have the Medusa's just doing her thing up here, and she's getting, she's got a Lincoln Sphere, she's getting her Butterfly up next. She isn't honestly as farmed as I thought she would be. But let's see the Anti-Mage. He's actually doing quite well. I wonder where all that money went. Okay, she does have the Midas as well. The Midas is about 2,000 gold. This is about 5,000 gold. Yeah, it's okay. It's because the Lincoln Sphere is more expensive than the Battle Fury probably. Yeah, that's kind of where it went.
Dire's
I don't know if the
top
Lincoln Sphere
tower
was
is
a
under
super
attack.
smart choice, but it's gonna block the lift. It's gonna block the
Dire's
Shackle
bottom
shot.
tower is under attack.
Can block the
Dire's
cask
bottom
if he
tower
throws the
has
cask on her first. They get the kill on the
Dire's
Medusa.
bottom tower is
Very
under
nice
Dire's
trade with those two
structures
ultimates.
are fortified.
Very high priority. Both teams are running what you would probably
Dire's
call a 4
courier
protect
has
1.
been killed.
The Radiant a little bit less so than the Dire, just because they have the Weaver as a kind of backup carry. Whereas
Dire's
the
middle
Dire
tower
really don't.
is under
I guess they
attack.
have the Wind Ranger, but she's not quite the caliber of a Weaver in that regard, I think.
Dire's middle tower has fallen.
A little bit of banter there about the Medusa ultimate. Not sure. Somehow we don't see some of the text messages. Thinking, trying to save the Invoker there, getting out. Just slightly too late for that. Nice little blink back into the fight here. He's gonna throw out his ultimate. He'll get a kill on the Sand King there. They're gonna get the Sand King. They're not gonna get the Nyx. Nyx manages to TP out just in time.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Yeah, Anti-Mage, his offensive potential right now is just not up there.
Radiant's bottom tower
Can't
is
really
under attack.
can't really keep up with like he can't really hope to kill the Medusa at this point with just what he has. So he's actually gonna hold off on getting his Manta style and go into just the BKB. I think this is the right choice if you want to fight early. The Manta style is much more if you want like passive farming up. And I think it's very dangerous to go for just split pushing alone against this much instant stun gank Yeah. Just the Invoker, Sand King, Nyx thing, that's under control. It's might be a little bit much to try and actually push down a tower solo as anti-mage at this point. Certainly if you're not ahead. The Invoker just getting so much farm here. At this point they're gonna start losing Drax. And this is looking pretty GG, but we actually, I think we're only about halfway through the game. Because, and this is something you'll see in higher level games, is that the high ground just provides such a big advantage in terms of defense. And even though they just lost 2 there, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world.
At least I deigned to notice you. Double kill.
There we go. Trying to hunt down the Zeus and getting killed 2 of them. So he's certainly not without just, he's that far behind that they can just do that. And he just destroys the 2 of them. Now he's gonna go into a quite late refresher here. It's already 30 minutes into the game. They've already lost 1 set of racks, and now he's going into like the big nuke play with the AcademyOfTheAncients refresher for the double AcademyOfTheAncients multi. That's, you know, a lot of damage. But I think honestly, maybe the Blink Dagger was the wrong horse, just the wrong bet here. Going for a defensive play might have been better. Because, you know, the Invis and stuff, if you're just trying to push down towers, what kind of happened here is because they were so aggressive, and their aggression sometimes failed, they would try for a gank or try for an aggressive move, lose a few heroes, and then they couldn't defend their towers. Or the towers would be split pushed down when they were occupied in fights. So maybe it would have been better to just say, we are just gonna farm up the anti-mage and defend our towers and go for like a defensive 4-protect-1 style instead of what they're doing here with like a much more traditional 4-protect-1 in the sense that 4 of them create space and occupy the opponents while the anti-mage farms up, because the anti-mage has not been super successful in doing so. He is starting to get back up there and farm now, but they've already lost a set of racks. It's sort of becoming slightly on the late side. Like, it's not impossible, but it's not good. And they do have a Medusa, so the carry potential is honestly pretty even here. Medusa is a very good carry hero, but then again, so is anti-mage. So it's a little, you know, it's just a little uphill for them. They are not as behind as it would seem, but they are pretty behind. Like the biggest thing is just the loss of the racks. Everything else they could probably recuperate from. Yeah. So here,
Dire's middle tower has been denied.
Yeah, they lose another tower. So I think there's gonna be a pretty good fight here. There we go. See, there the Lincoln Sphere blocks the cast from the Witch Doctor, but it only blocks the first bounce. Go, the Zeus also goes out, kills the Sand King, and the Nyx dies shortly after. Of course, the Sand King only died after he got the epicenter off, so not the biggest deal in the world. Witch Doctor gonna try to finish off the Medusa here. Not quite gonna manage it. Not quite gonna manage it. There we go. She also has Aegis. They managed to get the Roshan probably off of a kill. Did have him just before, but I didn't. I was basically talking about something else here. So here the anti-mage goes in again. They don't have a choice but to fight here now that they're protecting their racks, and that's. They do a good job of protecting the racks. That's sort of the one thing that's keeping them reasonably in the game right now. Yeah, that the Invoker gets a kill on the anti-mage. Not what we want to have happen. Not what we want to have happen at all. That's a good line right there, but a little bit of a calm off. Now they've lost 2 sets of racks, and I think now the Nyx, the Zeus can get into his refresher fairly soon. He just needs like a few hundred farm.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
That is going to be big, but I mean, it is 40 minutes into the game. It's not the ideal time to get this. And if not for the fact that they have been building it for so long, it might. It's probably still good, but it might have been almost as good to go for like a Hex. Hex being a little bit more late game oriented item. But they do just get a kill on the Nyx and the Invoker. That is pretty huge. not the biggest, but they can't really like. Okay, thing is, this refresher can't really deal with the Medusa. Like you're not gonna nuke down the Medusa with 2 times ulti, and that is the other heroes are still a problem. But then now you're just leaving it up to the anti-mage to deal with the Medusa, and as we see here, he can. Like the anti-mage can't mad fight the Medusa right now. It's just that the Medusa's team fight contribution is a bit better than the anti-mages at this point, I think. Just because of the split shot and the stone gaze. Yeah, anti-mage more being like exactly for that situation, like small skirmishes. Anti-mage comes out way ahead, just because there aren't any like. Yeah, what I'm saying is the Radiance game is just to use the Medusa in team fights and just kill off everything but the anti-mage, and then just control the anti-mage with your Sand King and your Nyx and your Invoker, while the Medusa does the rest of the damage needed. It does have a BKB. It is still at 9 seconds, so he's doing pretty good in that regard. But it does hinge a lot on this anti-mage. It is past the point where the Zeus can really hope to carry the game. Even despite having pretty decent farm, gonna get an initial on a little bit, but Weaver's gonna fall right away. Weaver really not having the greatest of games. Double ulti from Zeus, they're gonna get some big kills here. They actually managed to kill off the Medusa, so you see they are getting some really big fights here, and they are coming definitely out of the fights. They aren't out of the game, but the fact of the matter is still they're down 2 sets of racks. Like, what can they really hope to do when they're down 2 sets of racks? So it's all a matter, I think, if they'd won that one fight, down here, if they hadn't lost everyone but the Rubik in the fight down here, if they just hadn't lost the anti-mage, in fact, that might have been enough of a difference. It's honestly just holding those racks a little bit longer until they can get the potency up to actually get these kinds of fights where they trade 1 for 4 and kill off, or actually 1 for 5, I think it was. That would have been like enough, but they just can't take any towers off of this because they've already lost racks and their lanes are pushing in pretty hard. That's honestly how I see the situation right now, and that's yeah. Maybe the Zeus got enough done with the Blink Dagger. It's a little bit hard to tell, or maybe it would have been better to get a faster Agames, get the big nuke out, because it is very effective. Like, it is a pretty low HP team he's up against. Now the Blink Dagger is turning out to be pretty good. It allows him to move around a lot, be a lot more aggressive, and still have a reasonable way of escape. Because that's one thing Zeus really doesn't have.
Dire's structures of Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Another option, of course, would be to, instead of the refresher, maybe going in for
Dire's top barracks
sheepstick. Could have been maybe good. I don't know how to use that against. It is a lot of damage from the ulti do. It's just
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Yeah, it's that extra disable might have been really good. They are a little low on disable on the team. Nothing super controlled. Like, they had the shackle shot, the lift from the Rubik. That's pretty much their really good disable. They do have the cast from the Witch Doctor. That's counting on that one to do a lot is a little bit of a gamble. There we go. Managed to get the Aegis off easily. Sand King comes in, big ultimate, but it just isn't enough. We can see they definitely can take these team fights. Like, they just got 2 really good team fights in a row, but it's just not enough. Like, they are just down racks now, and because they're down racks, they just can't take any towers off this. If you can never take any towers, you're never gonna win the game. If you can't take towers off of wiping the enemy team, you're in serious trouble. Like, really big trouble. The anti-mage, he knows this, and he's just trying hard to push it down here, but the whole team is coming for him. Yeah.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Another thing to note is this. Another thing I want to note really fast, that this Wind Ranger doesn't have the greatest amount of farm for this point in the game. Her net worth is 14,000 or so, comparable to the Weaver's is just a few K above her. She hasn't had the greatest of games. She does have some relevant items. I really like the Orchid. Really good item on her. Really useful here, like to pick off the Invoker or the Nyx or the Sand King. Or the Weaver is really useful for those. And the Maelstrom is pretty good. Looks like Huh. Is this a sheepstick? It's probably a sheepstick she's building here with this ultimate orb. So yeah, I like these item choices a lot. She just could have a little bit more farm. If she had a bit more farm, she had something comparable to this Weaver, which honestly they have so much farm. This is a really weird Weaver build. This is a really strange Weaver build. I am not sure what's going on with this guy. He hasn't had the greatest of games. He's doing a little bit better than I thought he was. But he does have 6 steps, which is a lot for a Weaver. Yeah, he's in the hard carry, so it isn't the worst. Yeah, the big thing is just this anti-mage. Like everything just hinges upon him carrying. And at this point, I would honestly just advocate just going for Divine Rapier and just saying we have to win this. We have to win this hard, and we have to push hard afterwards. We cannot afford to lose a fight. Then it's yeah. The point where you want to get Divine Rapier is if you cannot afford to lose a fight, then it doesn't matter if you also lose a Divine Rapier, because you were all in on that fight anyway. Like, then you just lost harder. Like, the game is just lost twice over, then it doesn't matter. So, just give yourself the best possible chance of winning the fight by picking up a Divine Rapier. And then just, you know, if you can just not lose the anti-mage ever again, then you just win the game.
Dire's middle tower.
But they're just gonna get pushed from all sides. Now the Invoker taking out a tower mid while they're doing this. The other team is wising up to the fact that they can't take him on in 5v5 fights. And the logical answer then is to just go for the split push.
Dire's top barracks are under attack.
In your aim?
Go. Second mid tower looks like it's about to fall. Yeah. I honestly think one thing they could have also done a bit earlier is this, the Gem of True side. It only came here at around 10 minutes ago or so. And yeah, if they'd had that earlier, there's so much invis going on. They have the Nyx, they have the Invoker who like to invis up, they have the Weaver. They also have Sandstorm from the Sand King. There's a lot of good reasons to pick up some permanent invis detection. The good counter-argument to that is they have had people who've had problems with dying a lot. So, yeah, that's that. But, yeah, it's a good pickup now, certainly. And it is one of the factors that allow them to win these fights. But it's just sort of too little too late when you've lost 2 sets of racks and a melee racks on the top. But literally the only thing stopping the enemy from having mega creeps is 1 ranged racks. It's just super tough. Like, it's at this point, like, I think definitely the way to look at this game is how do we get better out of the early game? How do we stop them from taking those 2 racks comparably early at around the 30-minute mark, I'd say it was. Because if they get those fights that they got later on and they just manage to take, and they still have the racks, then they can push out lanes way easier, and they can just take some sort of objective off of their wins. Now a little bit of complaining about Red Dota. Of course, Red Dota is being when you avoid fights and just push objectives instead. And, as I just mentioned, the Radiant team has risen up to the fact that they can't take these guys in the fight right now. What they can do, because they are ahead on racks, is just push in the other lane, because they have big old creeps there. And a Necrobook and all kinds of things. Zeus, but honestly at this point it's just a desperate defense, and there's nothing to do. Yeah. So we're just gonna get the score screen up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so a very, very different sort of style of thing than what I normally do, and it's I think it came down to that really bad fight bottom, and maybe the just pausing here while my teammate talks a bit of smack. Yeah. So I think that fight on bottom, they lost the whole team really early on. That's a huge deal, and they probably lost a tower or 2 off that as well, I would guess. It bought the opponents a ton of space. I think if that fight had gone differently, if they hadn't tried for that, it would have been way better. And I think the anti-mage should have been a little bit more passive early on. Certainly certainly if you're working on that Battle Fury, if you're still working on that Battle Fury, I would not consider it worthwhile to go and fight with like where you just have a Perseverance or some shit like that. That's not going to be super effective. You're not contributing super much. You're just kind of a mana break, or not a mana break. What's it called? Yeah, his ultimate. You're just kind of an ultimate on legs at that point that can just kind of blink after 4 people and have a mediocre right click. Not super exciting. The Blink Dagger could be that it was really good. I think the Blink Dagger would certainly have been good later on. There was a lot of engagements later on where it definitely paid off, but I don't know if it was better than having a slightly earlier Aghanim Scepter. And, you know, I feel like if you're going for the Aghanim Scepter refresher, if you can only get it up at 40 minutes, it's a lot less effective than if you get it up at 30 minutes or something like that. So obviously if he'd gotten like a better game, it seems a little bit absurd to say if he'd gotten a better game and when he's 20 and 7 and 25, he obviously had a good game and it was obviously not completely on him that they lost. But it's still like if you get Aghanim Scepter refresher up, the earlier the better. And I think if you're gonna go for it, it makes a lot of sense to beeline for it. But yeah, it's sort of that would require a different playstyle. It would require you can't go for those ganks because you're Zeus. You would just be running everywhere. You're a slow hero. You have no means of escape. Poor mobility. So I think maybe just focus on a more defensive style. Focus more on holding on to objectives, because that was kind of what lost them the game, was that they lost all their outer towers. They lost their Rex really early, comparably, and they just could not recuperate from it. Even when the anti-mage got farmed enough that he could stand up to them, they just had lost too many Rex. They lost too many objectives. They were too far behind to recover. Like, as I mentioned before, like if you get a 5, if you trade 5 for 1, like if you trade one of yours for the whole team, and you're not checking objectives over that past the 40-minute mark, you're pretty boned. Like it's just, you need to be able to force buybacks. You need to get some sort of semi-permanent advantage, at least at that point. And if that's not happening, then things are only going downhill from here. Yeah. So I would say the Zeus did about what he could. I would think if the Wind Ranger could get better into the late game, she's got decent items now, but not decent items for an hour-long game. Like she should have a bit more. Then it could be a lot better. The Rubik has almost nothing for this point. He has died a lot and got no kills. So yeah, and level 18 at 55 minutes. That's really bad. But yeah, again, maybe some more active supports in the start. Maybe instead of just trying to zone out the Weaver, maybe trying to set up a gank on the Invoker mid. Give the Zeus a little bit more of a snowball. Give the Zeus an early Aghanim Scepter, and then just kind of use that Aghanim Scepter to, whenever they try to push down a tower, we just give the best counter fight we can, get a few kills off of that. Hopefully we can get an early refresher up on the Zeus. And I think that might have been a better plan. I think trying to go for an aggressive kind of ganky tempo based play and trying to repress the Medusa is kind of what I think they were trying to do. It's risky when you're up against a Nyx that can just initiate on you. You've got an Invoker, one of the best controllers in the game, I think, and also a pretty solid nuker. And you've got a Weaver who can also just sort of punish that sort of thing really well. And of course the Sand King also. Like, it's just everyone but a Medusa is kind of good against that kind of playstyle. I feel like it's they're also kind of out controlled. I feel like they have two good area of effect stuns in the Nyx and the Sand King. They've got Invoker with the Tornado and the EMP and the Cold Snap, all kinds of control effects there. So yeah, trying to go aggressive early on might have been their undoing here. They were very close to turning it though. And yeah, as I mentioned, these guys, pretty much all of them are probably a bit above my own level of play, so maybe take it with a grain of salt, what I have to say here. But I feel like it was certainly a game worth seeing and some interesting points to raise up. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you did, consider liking the video and consider subscribing. My name has been Cerebellum. This has been Academy of the Ancients, and thank you for watching.